Hello and welcome. My name is Laveena Archers. I'm going to be taking you through the first class, free, really an orientation class, to becoming a human design analyst. If it's interesting for you to join me on the journey of observing the new and improved human design analyst training that I have planned for you, your journey of professional mastery. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Laveena, and I want to warmly welcome you to this experience in learning how to understand the mysteries of what makes you you and unique. So, without further ado, let us jump into the materials when it comes to learning how to be a qualified human design analyst. I'm a teacher, so I'm qualified to take you not only through all of the levels of human design analysis training, but also through, because I'm a holistic analyst, differentiation degree practitioner, and variable teacher, variables where you can teach about these wonderful arrows that we have here and all the deeper substructure in the fancy advanced chart that you see in front of me. So it's a fun thing to be able to learn how to do personally as well as professionally. But the analyst training, Ra wanted you to be able to learn how this works for you first and foremost, primarily, especially when you get to the advanced level of the knowledge. You'll notice that there's a lot of layering of keynotes, and it's very helpful, I find, to know the advanced levels so that you can speak quite precisely. And I'm in the quarter of initiation here, purpose fulfilled through mind's process. So you'll find that a lot of the material that I use has to do with your desire to experience your fate, destiny, karma, what have you, because that's a lot of what my incarnation cross, it's the right angle cross of contagion. I have recognition and inspiration in my channels, and I use that quite often in my teaching. So I have just passed that wonderful threshold of becoming the full flowering of my human potential, at least the opportunity to plant the cross. What am I talking about? The Chiron return. The Chiron return brings good conditioning, absolutely necessary to fulfill your life's work. So you can see my Chiron return happens to be explanation. So you'll get really foundational, structured explaining from me when you come and take any of my classes. I do my best to continually refresh and improve the knowledge that I have, as well as what I'm passing on to you. And I'm very excited to see how that's going to show up, not only for me, but also for you, because you'll be my first group to begin with and through to completion that will take this material from me as a doctor, as a teacher. I'm a licensed minister at the University of Metaphysical Sciences. I began my health journey, my healing practice over 30 years ago, and my ministry in 2012, but only recently became a board certified holistic medicine doctor. And now I'm not your medical doctor. If you are under a doctor's care, please refer to them as needed, of course. But when we come to the materials, I will give you the best to the best of my ability, best of my knowledge when it comes to human nutrition accordingly to your design. So that is something that's new and improved that you'll find in our new course materials. Those of you who have gone through the training before, if you log in, you'll be able to not only brush up, but also get the newest materials, the latest and greatest as well. So that's another benefit that we give to our students. And not only am I a doctor of holistic functional medicine, but regular functional medicine as well, and functional nutrition. So I'm also a teacher at the Shift Network. I taught the bioenergetic map, your bioenergetic map for vitality, and much of that you will learn in your analyst training. In addition, I am an adjunct faculty at Rockwell, the School of Holistic Medicine, in the spiritual medicine doctorate program, teaching you human design. So I'm quite pleased to be able to do this work, as well as being a Jovian Archive person of interest since 2014. And I also am the co-founder of Human Design Mastery. If you want to find out more about what we offer, that's not in the realm of certification. However, when it comes to getting certified, this is going to be your prospective human design professional orientation. So I want to give you an outline of the professional training experience with me, the material that is covered in each course, the goal of the courses, and real brief orientation to how we do our work. I won't show you the course area at the moment. That will be, if you want to continue with us in the journey, that will be in the course materials course area where you can kind of get the lay of the land. And then, of course, if you have any questions, any comments, I'm happily able to answer that if you want to type into the chat. Also, I'll just give you a couple of frequently asked questions and the answers that I have for you. It's right for you to stick around to the end. Now, one of the most important things when it comes to becoming anything, really, there has to be some kind of dedication or a real determination to whatever is inside of you that honors, with respect to you and your authority, that honors your individual differentiation. So by using your authority, becoming your own authority, following your decision-making strategy, what happens is that we find that life unfolds and unpacks perfectly as it should. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect. Quite interestingly, you get exactly what you need. You get exactly the challenges, the trials and tribulations, everything that is required in order for you to get to this place of full differentiation. So by ensuring that you're honoring yourself as your own authority, you'll be in the right place at the right time to listen to the person that you can hear, that you can tune into and learn from to help you individuate. Now, what is analyst training, human design analyst training? It's basically a professional program that helps you master the art and science of human design analysis. Now, when it comes to being an analyst, there's quite a long journey. There's a lot of information that I want to unpack for you. And it doesn't have to take the required amount, more or less. It can be less or more. It's whatever your body is ready for, whatever you have in store in your karma, fate, or destiny. So my main goal is to empower transformation, particularly in this new era, in this new age. And what I've found is that the thing that will empower transformation the most is if you have the tools that are required for you to be the best at whatever it is that you came here to do. Now, if you're like me and you are someone who is dedicated to understanding what makes people tick, you're a coach or a consultant, you're an advisor, you're a guide, you're anyone who is in the helping professions that wants to use human design. If you've fallen in love with the system, you know that it's something that you can study and feel excited and observe in the journey how much more rich your discoveries of yourself, of others, your understanding of the world, your comprehension of what this world is all about. It opens for you. And sometimes it's a little bit obscure. Obscuration was one of my crosses. And when I found Human Design in my Saturn cycle, and, sometimes it can be very uncertain, this road that you're traveling. Where am I going? What am I doing? Another cross that I went through, uncertainty. But then at some point, the light breaks through. And when I found that light, it was the moment that I had my very first encounter with an other and read the chart from what I knew, and their jaw just dropped and was like, how did you know all this about me? That was my real turning point because it for yourself. You're like, wow, this is really cool. But the magic happens when you can help another person understand themselves. And that's really what it's all about, is to empower the unique, individual, sovereign being that's sitting there right in front of you, whether it's like this on Zoom, remotely, or whether it's in person, if it's right for you to do that kind of work. And so that's a really special gift to be able to give yourself, to have work that you enjoy, work that is satisfying, successful, peaceful, surprising, work that allows you to work on your own time and in your own way. Most of my day is spent studying. It's researching, it's processing. I'm in the quarter of the first area of the body graph where we're here to wake up first according to Ra. So the quarter of initiation, purpose fulfilled through mind. So my mind is always open and absorbing like a sponge all kinds of information and making linkages. And if you're somebody like me that likes puzzles, or you enjoy the ability to see through the ego eye, is what I call it, the mind inside that lies, and poke your head through the sky in disbelief of the ego eye, what I like to call it, you see through the mind's maya, the distortion and the confusion of what the mind thinks about itself. And that's a beautiful gift, because what the mind thinks about itself is oftentimes clouded by all of these shadows. You could call them distortions. They are ways in which we have been conditioned to believe the false narrative of whatever it is that's outside of us that is not true to self. And it's just conditioning. When you can disbelieve the conditioning, see through the conditioning, that's when you really have made something of the level of consciousness and awareness, the experience that you're having in your day in and day out drama, or whatever it happens to be that your life moves to or beats to. And so by being able to find one's place in this busy, busy world, you'll find that life opens up for you. The door, maybe it's just ajar slightly and you're peeking inside. Is this kind of work right for me to do? And I can tell you, I didn't think that I would be a very good analyst, because I would take things that people said quite literally as very gullible. And I believed a lot of mind stories about myself that were not true. In fact, totally different person here. I can tell you 14 years later, after having deconditioned, educated myself, moved through the process that I'm inviting you to take this journey with me too, and all of the wonderful faculty that we have here to support you. In addition, when we move through life, we are attracted to people on our fractal lines. And if you are on my fractal, that means indirectly you're on the fractal of the fractal family that you'll find yourself in when you move through the course material. So you'll make friends or companions, confidants. You'll find your place as far as the place in which it is safe to be you, because that's the real gift about entering into any of these courses, that we all allow for uniqueness and individuation and differentiation. So we're not trying to make you be anything other than what you already are. And I remember being very incredibly worried, asking one of my teachers before I started working for Jovian Archive, before I accepted the job, I don't want to give them my not self. And she laughed and she said, "Oh, honey, I gave everybody my not self in the beginning. It's just the way that it is." And so to let go of taking yourself so seriously, to lighten up a bit, you can see that the new era is definitely giving us part of that gift of being able to see the humor, or the spontaneity, the lightness of being as part of the journey in our busyness and our self-empowerment. So in this new era, going through your individuation process is a sacred opportunity. It's a gift, and you don't want to rush it. There's no need to hurry. It might be time for you to take a new journey, and that's what I'm wanting to give you as part of my work in the world, what I've been doing for the last 14 years culminating into this moment where I can offer you an incredible plethora of material and courses, and you can take them one at a time, or you can take them all at once. It's up to you as far as getting access to the materials. I'm a 3, and I am individual, 3 in the mind side. So I like to get into things and get out. I find now I can trust where the energy is bringing me towards, and that there are certain things that I particularly might need in this moment versus this other thing. So I trust that my students also too will enjoy the smorgasbord as they pick and choose according to their authority of what information is appropriate for them to get into. Now, particularly at this day and time and age of human design being so popular in the world, many of you will have already taken many courses, online courses, certified professional, um, licensed or not. And at this juncture, I want to invite you, if you would like to, take advantage of all of the money you've already spent in whatever course is it. If it says human design on it, then you absolutely can approach me and ask, where can we place you? And how can I also give benefit, a credit to you for the work that you've already done? It's something that has been done many, many decades in human design, where we see where you're at and we give you the ability to join us. As long as you go through the materials, you gain access to all of the things that you have already taken, maybe under a different teacher that is not certified or licensed by Jovian Archive, source of the human design system. So if that's something that's of interest of you, just reach out to me. Office at Human Design Life Coaching. And I have a very special professional leader mentoring package that is going to be on sale very soon. If you're interested in getting all the things, if you're one of those people that, nope, sign me up. I've got it all ready to go for you if you'd like to. And again, you can make payments. You can just take one little course at a time, however you want to do this. We're here to support you in your process. And again, because I'm a variable teacher, in my analyst program, you will learn the primary, general, and specific body graph elements related to digestion, color determination as a description, as an archetype, as a role in the world, because this is the way that I teach as well, to deconstruct so that you understand the deeper layers. If you ever get a incarnation cross analysis from me, you know that Laveena tends to go very deep into what makes you unique and different. And that includes your tonal cognition, or the way in which your brain body system is designed to function, designed to be unique and different. The specific effects of digestion of food or information on your body, as well as suggestions for beginning your primary health system experiment. If you haven't heard about that in human design, it's a fabulous, fascinating area of the knowledge. The whole reason I decided to do my work in the world with human design was because of this particular area of the knowledge. So it's very much something that I find fascinating and enjoy. I call it Thrive by Design, my program. And if you go and look on this YouTube channel, you'll find a whole bunch of extra bonus videos that I created for the Shift Network that kind of guides you through to sample and show an example of Steve Jobs and his design and what made him different and where he went wrong, really, really, really sadly, morbidly wrong in his human life. And quite honestly, my professional knowing of the system allows me to see that that man wasn't treating his body correctly, and that he probably cut his life decades short. If he had known this information, oh, what a life he would have lived. What a difference he could have made in the world. And yet he died very shortly after his Chiron return, unfortunately. I don't want that for you. Chiron, the 50-year full flowering of one's human potential, gives us the opportunity for a fresh start in life, a new beginning. And the Chiron return doesn't connect to the first part of the life. Not really. It's a whole new era for you. And if you're like me around this time of your life where you're thinking, well, as the age of 49 or 50, well, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? You know, maybe you're retiring on one end from corporate or whatever it happens to be, and you're ready for something more meaningful. This is part of the journey that I want to invite you into. Part of the work that I'll be giving you is my for anybody who signs up to my analyst training, I'll give you my radical transformations. Again, it's thriving by design to be able to help you understand all of this material, as well as you'll also get, like all my students have, you'll get the deeper layers of understanding how this works in your life, in our classes and our courses, but you'll get this program by itself as well as a participant to help you understand how this all works and moves, how energy moves in the body graph. It's very, very important thing to understand. So when it comes to becoming a human design analyst, there are prerequisite courses, 3 of them, 1, 2, 3, and then there are 4 levels of training. They are deep at level 1, 3 semesters. Level 2 is 2 semesters. Level 3 is 1 semester. And level 4 is 1 more semester. So you're looking at a good 2.5 years if you were to just steady, slow and steady wins the race, steadily progress through the materials in accordance with, well, we'll say that average person, because most people will go through the materials at a particular pace. Some people jump in and they've already had years of training either on their own with Jovian Archive or other teachers where they've learned about human design and they're ready to take their career seriously. They want a career in this work. Now, in speaking about careers, I feel like it's a good opportunity to talk about the career disruptor right now, AI. And from my knowing of my experience, we who are human interacting with other humans are not going to be replaced anytime soon. Not really, not in the same way, because although many people may, want to throw out AI reports, why would you do that when you can just go to AI, and ask the AI for a report? Well, guess what? If you go do that, you're going to find that there's a lot of mistakes in that AI's information because its training data has been across the board, garbage in, garbage out, all over the map. Whereas when you come to a school that is licensed and a certified teacher, what you'll find is that there is a structure. There is a hierarchy of knowledge. There's a way of progressing through the information in order to get to that place where you really have a grounding in the solidity of the foundation and a mastery of being able to move through the information in such a way that it comes alive, not only for you and inside of you, but for your client or whomever you're helping to, your friends, families, whatever it happens to be. I know people who use this material not as teachers, but in their career and business, going through the classes just to be able to use it with their team. I know people who get through all of this information and never hang out their shingle, but it makes them a better as a human design analyst. They never get the certification, but that makes them better at whatever it is that they're doing with their work, or as a parent or a friend, a family member. It helps so much to release the tension from the relational dynamics, to understand that people are the way that they are, and sometimes we clash and you can see it mechanically, and just to be able to surrender to what is and to allow those things to be as they are. Oftentimes it helps the mind to comprehend what's going on. I'm one of those people. I need to know why. Why is he being like this? Why am I being like that? What is going on? All of that stuff it can be answered inside of this material. And I know if you have ever studied really deep psychology or astrology or any of the helping professions that helps us understand who people are, that you may too come in with your preferences, your predispositions, your ideas, and kind of want to help you wash the slate clean and see this as a separate system, a new way of seeing and being in the world. And that's one of the things that's going to help you as you move through this. Ra said something to the effect of human design being a very helpful therapy in getting in touch with what's really unique and true and real and honest and in integrity about you. That's the way I would say it anyway, my experience. So again, level 1 in analyst training, 3 semesters, how you become fluent with body graph mechanics. 2 is 2 semesters. 1 is about relationships, 2 body graphs coming together. Semester 2 is about cycles, one of my favorite. God, they're also amazing, but really cycles for me, sweet spot where it's at. To be able to understand life's larger cycles is really cool and key to observing your divinity in the way in which planetary objects light us up from inside. You know, the gods speaking through us and for other people to us as well, playing those roles as those gods and goddesses or the archetypes of the planetary imprints that make us so different and give us the Maya, the joy and the abundance and the sadness and the romance and all of the wonderful things that life has to offer. Level 3 brings you 1 semester, but in my materials, I give you basically the worth of 2 semesters because not only do I go through the incarnation crosses as a whole, I also go through all the nodes and take you on an evolutionary journey around the mandala wheel. Level 4 brings you your final exam preparation. So oftentimes this helps to develop your skills that you began in level 1. Basically, Ra would say at level 1, at the end of that, you're an analyst. You're an analyst. And all of this other information is how to do different levels of analysis, adding on other charts, other cycles, other people, other perspectives, if you will. So the final exam, some people just don't even do because they don't care about the stamp of approval. They just want to have the freedom to do what they want to do. And so even if you feel that that may be you, my suggestion is to go through level 4. And then if you don't decide to become a certified, stamp of approval analyst, you just don't turn in your final exam to the International Human Design School and you do what you will. Do what thou wilt with your life, which is a part of the new era that we're moving into. And the goal of our program, according to Ra's desire for the program, he said that we need to create a generation of analysts who see how information moves, not just the surface, not just the, small details. In the way that we are looking at a body graph, it's an integrated surface. And what we're doing is diving deep into some of the more, we'll call it esoteric or obscure details that most people in human design do not understand. And you're not teaching this to your client, but you're using different keynotes, different word formula phrases in order to impact, in order to open up their neural pathways. And I'm doing this for you so that you too can move between any information within the body graph structure so that you never just isolate down on a gate and describe that gate completely out of integrity with the rest of the chart. Oftentimes people will come to my classes, the live streams or whatever, the comments below a video and say, I have X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, and 3, whatever it happens to be, little tiny pieces of their design. What does that mean? And I can't give you, we can give you generalities, of course, but I can't give you your specificity unless we're looking at a design in fullness, in totality. So in describing someone's design, we never want to describe just a gate in isolation, because a gate by itself, it's dead. It's not alive. The thing that comes alive when we look at someone's design is we're looking at a mapping, a blueprint. It's not the territory. It's a moment, it's a fragment, it's a snapshot in time. And in that time, oh, how we can expand and extrapolate out that meaning over the life cycles, not just one cycle, not just the first 12 years, but, the decades beyond. And indeed, it's such a beautiful gift for me to have clients who have been with me for years to be able to come back and usher them through the doorway, or be the person that shows them what's going on the map, so that they don't feel so lost or confused, sad or scared. It is a very demanding job. Sometimes it moves me to tears, not only to be trusted, but to be a witness to what's happening to you as you go through your life and in this journey. To be in integrity with oneself, it takes courage. And I honor that and respect that in each of you, not only my students, but of course, my beloved clients that I have the benefit of being able to serve and support. And you can hear the emotion in my voice. This is why to become an analyst, if you want a meaningful existence, if you want to be able to call the shots, because you're going to have to do this for yourself. It's rare that people are out there hiring analysts. They're more likely to hire teachers like myself, but to hire an analyst, it's not a thing. It's kind of like astrology, you hang out your shingle, you do your work. So it's important to know why you are becoming a certified analyst, because it's just a touch point into why here, why now, why this teacher, why this methodology or whatever. It will likely change as you progress through the program. This is something that I have seen time and time again, where people are all hopped up on it, come in, raring to go, and then the reality sets in of, hey, you got to study, you've got to practice. You can't just buy the course and expect your life to change. You have to go through the motions, the materials, And one of the things that we're changing, the new and improved about this particular round, this new round and cycle, is that the recordings not only are being refreshed, but you too are going to turn in either recordings live, like I am doing to you right now. You may have an outline, but not a script. Okay, when you're doing your homework assignments, I want to make sure that you're getting the full benefit of the program, so there will be no more written homework assignments. It's all oral, which really goes back to the beginnings of how Raw wanted this work to be done as an oral assignment. It can be stressful to be on performance and on display. So that's why a recording is quite fine with me. Sometimes I can't go live either. And being, pressured to prove, all of us undefined heart people, all of us right brain, body, system, right mind variables, you just feel like deer in the headlights. You don't know what to say. No worries, we got you covered, but you still need to practice. So coming live to the study groups where you explain or discern and discuss what's going on with your process, with maybe a client. Don't describe their names, but of course, disclose their names, but describing the challenges that you're having. It's a very wonderful experience. One of the things that I had wished I'd had more of when I was going through training is a place to come together and talk about what the work is really about. And so there's a lot of time for that. You'll notice lots of opportunities, because we don't put a deadline on your experience with us. You are welcome to stay as long as it takes to get what you need from the program. In order to do that, we have to hold some boundaries. So when you sign up for a class, it's 1 year from the moment you sign up for the class. 1 year, you get to come to live engagements and interact. After that year, there is a cutoff of, okay, well, now you can participate, but only silently, please, to give space to the next group of individuals to get their questions answered. You want more lifetime in the group? Sign up for another class, okay? The exception to that is anybody who pays for an entire package, like a package of the whole enchilada. You get lifetime access to live groups as long as they are running. Okay, so that's something to touch into because being a certified analyst, a licensed certified analyst, it does take your inner compass, your inner knowing, your inner authority. Is this the right time? Is this the right person for you? As far as there's all kinds of stuff you can find out there to get your mind to be fascinated with or busy with. The thing that lights you up inside, the thing that you could study, the thing that, your mind is obsessing about and you're always wanting to talk about it. And maybe you can't find people to talk about it in person because you're a bit of a loner, maybe like me, and you want to be able to touch into a community that will be able to connect with you in this language, because it is like learning a new language. I've had people learn English just to learn human design with me, which is really quite honoring and a privilege. So your mind has all sorts of ideas or fantasies or misidentifications and falsehood narratives of what it thinks it should do that may distract you from your authoritative process, wherever it happens to be within the body or in your process if you have a processing authority. So do the best that you can. If you need some support or guidance, just know that we're here. We're always happy to answer questions or hop on a call with you if you're really serious about taking the next step and you do not know what is in store and what to do next. Just write to us and ask so we can help you. Tell us where you're at. What other classes have you taken? Are you already a Raw TV fan and went through all the videos? Well, there's a credit for that. There's no way I am going to make you pay for or put you through if you can prove that you have a certain level of knowledge. Now, in all of our courses, there are optional exams, quizzes. Okay. So if you want to test out, this is something that we also offer if it's right for you to do. Okay, so if you're really, you've been doing readings already. I have several clients that are like this, never taken any of my professional courses, but I can see that they're at the professional level of the knowledge. So if you're ready to become proficient, if this is the way that you want to go, we are happy to help you because we want you to not only learn tools, tips, tricks, techniques, there we go, as far as how to see and speak about the raised body graph, which you're seeing in front of me, holistically. And holistically means that there is a way in which that your brain can not only see the little details, but when in doubt, zoom back out and see the big picture view and not lose the forest for the trees or the leaves on the trees. We want you to recognize that human design is the science of differentiation. It's very precise. It can be very accurate when wielded by the right person with the right other. And you'll learn how to communicate the way that this body graph is unique with each individual person you sit with, no matter the challenges between the two of you. It is one very important habit that I have in ensuring that I run my chart with my client's chart before I meet with them. In that we want to make sure that anything that we as in you and me, the professionals, anything that I know may be a challenge, a conditioning effect of my energy with that person. In the beginning, I would just turn them away when I saw something that was like, I don't want to take the risk. Now I feel confident and self-assured enough that I can help anyone who is willing to come and sit with me. If they want to pay me money, if they want to be the person I'm sitting with according to their authority, then I know that I can help them, that I know that I'm on their fractal. In the beginning, I did not have the kind of depth of knowledge and self assurance that I would know what to say. I was, quite insecure about this unconsciously defined throat. Didn't trust that I would say the right thing. Used to be very, very self-conscious. Moon is in self-analysis right now, so that's why you're getting some of the storytelling and admissions from me. I find it helpful though to share from my personal experience. You can see that Ra has personal perspective as his perspective as well, personal view. And so then you get a lot of our personal take on things when you listen to someone like us. So I find it helpful to share stories and experiences so that you too can find your way through to navigate the challenges of embarking on a new journey of discovery. There are 26 activations, 13 planetary imprints, 9 centers, 36 channels, 64 gates, also known as hexagrams, each with their 6 lines, and 3 levels of substructure, color, tone, and base underneath. What this leads to is that there's going to be approximately 1,080 different ways that each gate could be imprinted. And that means truly that there is no one like you, that you are utterly unique and different, very special, very gifted. If you are still listening to my voice, this is something that's fascinating for you. I definitely warmly invite you to explore and take a tour, going on a journey of adventure, learning, and discovery. Part of my incarnation cross, what I'm here to deliver to you and now explain. So, where are we going in this journey? I want you to have a solid foundation. So, regardless of where you're entering into this training program, we are always going to make sure that you are solidly based in the foundation and the basics, the fundamentals, if you will. I call them fundamentals because they're fun. And when we drive deep into advanced territories, even if you are approaching a blind corner and you don't know what's around the other side, that if your hand is being held, if you can't see, your eyes are blinded, if your hand is being held, you've got somebody with you in practicing the various techniques, in deepening your HD knowledge and discussing charts, practicing the poetry of keynoting, really, reviewing these basics and diving into the territory is really going to help you if you've got a buddy. So remember I said you might make some friends when it comes to your studies. We do our best in our groups to make sure that everyone feels welcome, that if someone is, maybe in a really odd time zone, that we try and find somebody else. They're not making it to live classes. In other words, the live study groups are at different times. We try to different days, vary them a bit depending on who's supporting you. And we want to make sure that if you can't come, if it's just, sorry, I got to work, or that's when my kid gets off school, that we do our best to help you find a study buddy, somebody that you may connect with in such a way that you have someone to practice with. And discussing charts and practicing the keynote techniques definitely makes the difference when it comes to being an analyst, a good analyst. And being a good analyst doesn't require, excuse me, that you memorize everything. It's not about memorization, rote, regurgitation. It's not. But it is about practicing and playing, doing readings and analyses in such a way that it deepens your HD knowledge with every single person that you're speaking to. Because every single person is unique and different and special too. And that will give you an interaction with a real life breathing chart, a human being that's connecting up with your own chart. And then you get to learn about certain detriments or certain exaltations or certain channel connections or certain compromises. Ooh, the dreaded compromise. That's funny. They are brilliant opportunities, those compromises. Ra liked them because it showed you the place of surrender. He liked the detriments. He thought they were honest, So don't get too caught up in your ooh, scary or, nervousness. because oftentimes your mind blows things out of proportion, particularly during this time when the background frequency is still in fear and still in security as far as what we are all being conditioned by. Slowly, that is going to be shifting. When we're doing readings and analysis, we want to absolutely inform the other person that, hey, I'm a student, I'm practicing. You know, the way that I got through my ability to pay for my analyst training was I put up a GoFundMe. I offered LYD classes. I was about to say guide training because I do that now. Living Your Design, Awakening Experiences. It's a course that you can learn how to teach or facilitate. And then also I did readings, and nowadays you can absolutely do a similar thing. And that helped me with my ability to pay my way through school. And by doing practice analyses, by saying, hey, I'm not able to do a chart reading in the same way an analyst would, but I'm studying to be an analyst. You know, it helps people feel they're they're excited for you. They help invest in you. You know, all of the people who believed in me and who helped me achieve what I have today. I would not be here if they weren't believing and seeing and supporting me in my journey of my destiny and where I had no idea I'd end up here, but where the road was taking me. And now that I have so many decades under my belt of studying the esoterics and different ways of looking at human beings, I can see, oh, of course, obviously, but yeah, hindsight is 2020. Anyway, if you feel excited, you know, if this is something that's really fascinating to you, moving you, then it's something that you might want to explore. The professional training and beyond just taking in information, because the technical knowledge, the basis of reading charts, you learn in the first fundamental courses. Living Your Design as Awakening Experience is not a professional course, it's for anybody. So if you're new to this, you want to take Living Your Design with someone like me who is going to help facilitate your awakening by learning your type, your strategy, your authority. And then the other courses above and beyond that, yes, anybody can take them, but you really don't get into professional training until level 1 of analyst training to transform that technical knowledge into authentic practice. So I will explain what each course involves so that you have more of an idea of the lay of the land and what you're getting yourself into, if it's right for you to take this traditional path. Now, I tell you, this is the traditional, relatively, path of the recent years. When Ra first started teaching, it was very, very short, comparatively speaking, because he didn't have type and strategy and authority and the different layers and levels of the deeper elements of the knowledge, like the science of differentiation, tonal qualities and colors and motivation, and all of this wonderful, fabulous stuff that helps us understand people. It wasn't there. So it didn't take as long. Now, if you really want to dive into the depths, there are all kinds of ways in which you can learn about human design. You can go into family practice and child analysis and, business analysis. And there's sociology and psychology and health system. And it's amazing. So not to get all caught up in trying to do everything at once, but unless you're someone who is I've been very blessed by a lot of different opportunities from life, from experience, from good karma, whatever you want to call it, great destiny, lucky stars. I've been able to spend a lot of my time studying and applying and teaching. And the teaching, the repeating of the information and answering the questions, your questions, has really been the gift that has helped me to be able to synthesize and analyze and put things in such a way that it makes sense to the client, no matter who they are and what they're asking for. I can generally find something of a satisfying or successful or peaceful, surprising nature that I can give to them to work with when it comes to the things that are plaguing you or bothering you. And you can't get to that level unless you know that there's something here or there. There's something everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. You can look for all kinds of reasons and rationalizations for why this and why not that and not that kind of thing. But you've got to narrow your focus and give them something of value, something practical, because you don't have, until the end of the day to be able to talk to them. In the beginning, I would have like 4-hour readings because, practicing, and defined ego manifestors keep asking. I'm going to keep answering until I run out of energy, not knowing when enough is enough, but also someone to be able to talk to about the love of my life, this fantastic system that I feel so blessed to be a part of the industry to help mold and shape the future development of the people that can take up, raw standard and continue in the spread of the information. He lit the fire, and that candle, it still burns in each and every one of us to be able to help humanity live in a better alignment and a higher accordance with their full divinity and differentiation. So let's talk about the paths of professionalism. First things first, you're here at the professional analyst level. Okay, so I am teaching you to get to the place where you can do individual rave analysis, where you can do relationship analysis, we call it connections, cycles. So there are 4 basic cycles plus the annual life cycles. That's your bread and butter. Annual life cycles are the most important cycle to get after your foundation analysis. It's not something I talk about to many people very often because it is the most involved and the most difficult analysis to do, I'll tell you. And that's why it's your homework assignment for that semester when it comes to cycles. But long story short, an incarnation cross analysis. Those are fun. Those are really fun. If you want to get a good picture of what somebody's life, their purpose, their fulfillment of being, why they're here, what's it all for, that one's really sweet. And it brings a lot of resolution to the questions, the confusions, the doubts, the challenges, the things that keep people up at night, when they're having a really difficult time of it. I know, I see it, not just in me, but also the difficulty in humanity, what people are going through. And to just offer a bit of compassion, some comfort, some solace, and not blowing wind up anybody's skirt. You're looking at it in their design. You're seeing the difficulty. You're describing the challenges, and you're giving them their authority, their ability to make the decision for themselves rather than telling them what to do. So an analyst is the primary human design professional that we have. It's where everything, folds around, you could say. You could see it's right there in the middle. But if you want to start at the beginning, and you do need to, living your design, like I mentioned, ABCs, then next, and rave cartography. And that will take you into living your design guide training. Now, I do highly suggest, if you need to work and you want to be the best analyst that there is, if you need to make money sooner rather than later, the Living Your Design Guide is the shortest and least expensive way to become a certified human design professional. Then you can guide people through their experiment regularly and do this class, a beautiful class, over and over again to where you really nail the basics. It's wonderful. So I highly recommend that, especially if you need to be making money while you're, paying for your analyst training. It's a great way to make a living. And then you have all these other things I mentioned. I happen to be here, a professional teacher level. That's my sweet spot because it's in my life's work. It's in my cross. Love doing that. All right, so let's take a look at what each of these courses have in store. Human design has something we call auric types, aura types. There are 4 basic aura types, of which there are many subtypes. Okay, for the most part, all the solar types all have subtypes. So we have types, strategy, and authority, both in Living Your Design and Living Your Design Guide. The difference is in Guide, we're teaching you how to be able to get the information across to others, all the different questions. Whereas when you first go through Guide or Living Your Design, before you become a guide, you're basically learning for yourself. Maybe if you're lucky and you're familiar with the information or interested about others, you're looking at your friends and family at the same time. So that's definitely something that you want to start with. Origin of human design, synthesis, and the beginnings of chart analysis. You find that in Rave ABCs. Then we have circuitry, the combination of gates that become channels. Channels become circuitry, the life force in the design. And we have hexagram structure, also known hexagram, also known as gates. So that we find in the beginnings of that in ABCs as a preview, as a laying the foundation for what you'll go deeper into when you get to Rave cartography, where you start to learn the biology of the centers. And you're also going to learn about deeper layers or levels of channel descriptions. Then we also talk about profile analysis at a pretty deep level. All this information wrapped up in a pretty tiny bow in order for you to start to work with yourself and also maybe your children or your friends and family. However, if you want to start doing this as work, the next, like I mentioned, we recommend you go into guide training if it's right for you to do. Some people do it at the same time as they do their analyst training because it's not that hard to do. If you have lots of time and energy, and of course you've got the money, don't stress yourself out trying to pile up too much before you actually do the work and see that you enjoy doing this work. Now I'll tell you, let me go back to that real quick before I go into analyst training. Sometimes, like I mentioned, people will come into this material and they won't ever teach an LYD class. They might try, they might fail because maybe they're not good at marketing or maybe whatever the case may be. It just didn't line up. It wasn't right timing. Maybe they were pushing too hard and they just weren't ready yet. A lot of people come here and they're like, I'm not ready to do that yet. I need more information. And so in that respect, going into, I need more information, analyst training is where it's at, because then we get to this place of going into the I Ching, the gate and full line descriptions. That's professional level 1. There's a big, thick book. I don't have it close to me, but it's the line companion. And that's our text for that particular year of training, if you wanted to take a year. Then we go into planetary cycles and relationships. And that's where we go much deeper into the planets. Although you go into planets in level 1, absolutely. I have fascinating information in store for you. The ways in which we can describe gates and lines. There's so many layers and layers and layers of keynotes depending on what context you're speaking to a person in. And once you see this stuff, you will never unsee it. So then any movies, any TV, any news or conversations, you're always going to be hearing keynote speaking and wondering, well, if your mind works like me and you're quite fascinated by human design, you can't unsee what you see when you learn this information. And it's quite fun and fabulous because it's part of your study. So, but then when we get to level 2, we'll go deeper into the planets when it comes to the cycles of one's life experience and how these messengers of the gods connect up with you. They come through people, they come through the life experience, the general quality of the environment that you're stepping through. Lots of wonderful tips and tricks and techniques I have in store for you, as well as examples of how to do this work, how you might do this work. Incarnation crosses in level 3 helps us to understand the individual cosmology of a being and that why are they here? What is it all for? That purpose for the living, and for being. Why are we here? What are we doing? What is this life all about? Wonderful experience, a deep, profound experience. When you take that incarnation cross, the sun, earth on either sides, and you drop it into the fertile soil of the nodes of the moon. And you see the path that you're walking, the road that you're traveling, the people that you're designed to meet, the way that you're designed to see. It's just an incredible opening up of one's ability to comprehend the nature of one's reality, I find. Beautiful gift. not only for oneself, but also as you go through this, you'll do your own incarnation cross analysis, but you'll also be able to do that for anyone. Why is my child the way that they are? So defiant, cross of defiance. Love that one. Someone tried to get me to adopt their defiance or take care of them at one point. It's definitely a very interesting dynamic to see the connectivity that you have with another, as well as the reasons why we are recognized. I find it fascinating to look at different famous people when they're in the news, maybe like as an example, David Wilcock, you might know of him, died recently. And there's a whole big, conspiracy about how he died and why he died and what's really going on there. But I remember going to a lightning in a bottle back in 2015 where I was channeling and on stage and everything. And my husband and we went and watched one of his talks. And my husband has all of his books and, heard of this man and knew that he was a manifester. But then when you really take a look at the life and the cross and the cycles, you start to see pictures and you start to see people recognizing that man for really what he was doing, his mission and who he was, and all of this wonderful, it validates itself in the life, the system, time and time and time again. And it's the most incredible thing to be able to witness the beauty and wonderment and awe of a person living their life either on purpose or maybe unaware, second lines do that, and completely on track, peaceful. Or they could be angry. Now, if you watch David Wilcock's stuff, like him or not, he had this character that he would put on called Angry Daddy. And I thought it was just so hilarious, using his anger manifestor costume. I don't know if he knew his human design. I would imagine he came across it at some point. But just a precious gift, to be able to witness a little bit, peek into the life mechanics and workings. It's like if you ever played video games. I did when I was a kid, even a little bit when I was in my 20s. If you ever had one of those manuals that Oblivion was one of the games that I used to love to play. And I got this manual, the secret key code of like what to do when you're freaking lost, you don't know what you're doing and where you're going and all that stuff. Yeah, that book, Human Design, is that book, but for life, for humanity, if it's right for you to be one of those guys that, wants to geek out like me about what all this is about, then you're in the right place. Level 4 is mentoring. It's how to do the work of an analyst and not get burnt out. We're on a fourth line day as I record this. And fourth lines do have to be careful about burning out. I remember that David Wilcock not only used it at 2-4, but he was 4s underneath the color level on the personality side. And on the personality side, the color level, they will tend to ignore their body to the detriment of their health. And, it's always about taking care of the other instead in an unhealthy way, out of fear. Maybe it's fear of belonging or wanting to prove one's value or worth, or whatever the case may be. But just to know yourself so deeply and thoroughly and clearly that you avoid as much as possible the missteps along the way that cause you to damage yourself, instead of, taking good care of yourself so that you can do the work as a clean instrument. That's one of the things that I hope for you in going through these courses with me, is that you study, you practice, you learn, you apply, you master yourself first, and then you can work with others. Sometimes it takes cycles of mistakes. That's where my Chiron is trial and error, as far as the planetary asteroid and the healing of the wounding of what led me to think that I wasn't good enough, that no one loved me, that I couldn't, do anything right. All the mistakes that I made in the first part of my life. Now coming to this acceptance, this deep acceptance of the fact that mistakes are what they are. It is what it is. And it is the way through to be able to be you if you've got a design like this. So I encourage you and I honor you in your process of going through this at whatever level and speed is correct for you, rather than thinking that you have to hurry or rush or keep up. I remember going through this and needing a break in the beginning um, a couple of times. And I switched teachers. I had like 3 or 4 different teachers just for my analyst training, not to mention, guide training and family practice and child and all my professional teacher work and cosmology and consultant. I did all of these and got to the level of teaching for years at some of these levels. So what I want you to know is that you don't have to hurry. There is no deadline. Your life will be what it is. And if you push and force, oftentimes it makes stress, exacerbates one's dis-ease or ill well-being, rather than encouraging the full flowering of your human potential. Like a cocoon, has that waiting time where the caterpillar is turning into the butterfly before it comes out. We can't force that flowering to happen. So particularly if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 20s, my goodness, lucky you finding this material at your age. But if you're younger, don't rush it. Don't worry, don't push, don't hurry, don't force. Not to say that the older people can't absolutely, like I mentioned, if you're ready to shift into a meaningful career, tons of people do this as either a side thing while they scale back on their job that they hate, that they really are frustrated with, or angry, or disappointed, or bitter, or whatever. And by getting to that place where you are ushering in the new world with your fractal family, where you are living with integrity, where you are gaining your sovereignty, whatever level you are ready to be a part of this new era, this new age and day that we're moving into. You don't have to make the mind decision be the reason that you're doing any of this. You can just follow the body. To make it very, very simple, so easy. Follow the body. When you follow your body's compass, your internal navigation system, what happens is that life slows down. Well, for me anyway, I'm an emotional, basic, wide split definition projector. So I was living on way too much speed. And now my life moves a lot slower. And I don't force in the same way. If I do, I will feel it. And then I will have to get back to me by meditating. Or I have this Soul Tech Lounge, which has a magnet in the chair. Can't get them anymore, unfortunately. But I plug in sound or music or hertz, something, to be able to get into state. I'm a feeling cognition. So frequency is my thing, sound. And sound is the tool that I use in communication with my clients in order to help them feel better about what they're experiencing and what they're going through. A lot of times they come to me because they want to get out of a horrible experience, relationship, job, whatever it is, because of my design. Now you're going to have your own way. And these different places that you're going into in the professional training academy, each one gives you a different avenue of working with a different subset of clients who are interested or fascinated in whatever area of the knowledge that you too are interested or fascinated in. So like as an example, you're not going to go and be an entrepreneur if you don't love business, being in business for yourself, being your own boss and that kind of thing. You're not going to want to go to a child development analyst or a family practice analyst if you don't have kids. It's not the thing. So my suggestion, always start with a solid foundation. I already gave you my recommendation of, hey, if you need to work the guide training, analyst training, if you're ready to really take your career seriously. And then all of these other things are things that you can take concurrently or down the road, but you won't get your certification if you're wanting the stamp of approval. You won't get the certification until after you finish level 4. Okay, so even if you finish some of these other trainings that take a lot less time, you won't get that certification until you finish your basic professional analyst training. So I hope that that's clear enough there. Your analyst certification. I do not certify you. You are going to be certified by the people who are in charge of holding that standard of certification. All of us who are teachers, and there's not that many in the world, relatively speaking, who are licensed and certified like I am. With the diversity of the level of education and knowledge, definitely it's quite a small few. But all of us, regardless at whatever level we are teaching analysts, we are authorized to create our own and encouraged, in fact, by the manual, the teacher's manual, to make our own materials. We have to. It isn't given. You can't buy it. Make your own materials, and then also what do you want to put in those courses? What do you want to teach? There's definitely layers and levels that are required. You've got manuals from Raw that you're going to need to obtain. You're going to need to read. If you don't like reading, this is probably not necessarily the course for you unless you don't mind obtaining audios and listening to the audios. Personally, for me, I would listen to audios over and over and over and over and over again. And oftentimes at night when I was sleeping, just trying to get in this, because it's a lot of information, trying to get a mastery of and a comprehension of the information. That's an option as well. It's more difficult and it's more expensive because the audios or webinars, they're not as inexpensive as buying the books. Okay, so just so you know. In order to express the poetry of keynoting in context with the body graph, it takes not only an ability to love information, helping others focus, the quality of attention, but also a trust in yourself and in life, because life is what brought that person to you. As much as your mind might say, I did this myself and I, got this person to come to me. I magnetized, I attracted. Nah, life did that, and becoming fluent and articulate in the multiple layered language of the Rave body graph as Ra laid it out requires practice. And this is what the transformations that matter, that really matter, requires that you live this knowledge first and foremost, that you have the capability of being your own authority, while at the same time you're learning through oral practice and play to become that way of the mastery of the knowledge living through you. It's a lived, breathed experience. And when you see the body graph in motion, it's always in movement. What you'll find, it's not a fixed moment in time. Every single body graph shows us that point of birth and then 3 months before. But when we go into the knowledge and get close up into a little piece, we're seeing the not self if we don't zoom back out to have a synthesis of the perpetual motion of what this body graph is telling us. So Ra would say to look at a body graph as if you were seeing them as a child, and then see what happened to them as a child. Because we know through our type, strategy, authority centers of living your design, we use that knowledge quite a bit to help people understand and for us to get the foundation of what's going on in that person's life. Type is always, always, always a constant throughout. So by using type, we give the person a strategy. We see their self and not self, their on track or their off track, their aligned or misaligned energetics. And we can use what we know of the body graph to help lay the frame for them to be self-aware. And that really, truly can be what is infinitely rewarding to see somebody wake up to the potential of their own divinity and that self-awareness, self-consciousness. Example, before I became really not only invested, but well-versed in human design, I would say that I was definitely someone who could be considered to be insane, as in this mind did not hear what people were saying. It heard things through a skewed lens and perspective. My diagnosis was bipolar type, whichever one is the worst one. I can't remember which, but bipolar, um, also to be somebody who is on the spectrum of autistic, um, levels. And by changing my diet, by deconditioning, and coming to this place of self-realization, I can now still see the challenges and the distortions of the shadow state mind, you know, getting caught up in, let's say, a really funky day where there's serious transits. If you don't know about algol, people losing their heads right now, this past weekend was kind of a difficult one. And despite that, I can now see the challenges both within my own mind and in another in order to avoid horrendous, meltdowns like I used to get, horrendous fights. It's an incredible place to be when you get to that level of maturity where you don't um, my mind says, that's not the right, it feels language. It feels like the way that this mind can identify with what's happening. Yes, it's still slower because I'm basic split. I need some time to process things. Um, but it feels like I am a radically and new, totally different person than what I was back in 2011, 10, 9 for sure. At that level, 2008, I was ready to suicide. All I could do was see myself throwing myself off the top of a building, a condo, where we lived. And it's not even in my mind at all, despite the fact that I have gone through some really serious health challenges where the body wouldn't even move, tears sliding from my eyes, recognizing why people would want to be released from the pain of existence. Like, why would you want to die? How could you take the most sacred gift you've been given and end it? As somebody who has been hospitalized for attempted suicide, I know what it's like to go through the difficulties of being human. But now, with this gift of individuation and divine difference that we can see both clearly inside of our own unique sovereign beings, as well as an analyst seeing it in another, it is the most transformative gift I can say that I have been through personally, that I would love for people to be able to go through too, if it's right for you to do, and only if it's right for you to do. So when it comes to these 4 levels of training, they are beautiful, beautiful ways in which you go through your own unwrapping of the gift that you've been given of yourself and your divinity, and an unraveling of the not self, the challenges, the trials, the upsets, that when you start to look at your cycles and the people in your life, when you start to see how they were doing the best that they could with what they had, if you went through a really difficult upbringing, that there's no more blame and certainly no shame, guilt, fault, regret, or any self recriminations when you see the hand you've been dealt and the life that you've lived. You don't have to worry about that so much anymore. Yes, you'll still have these melts of the softening, of the crystallization of the conditioned not self wounding. You'll still have these releases, the shattering, we call it, or Rob would call it, the shattering of the not self. It's almost like you have to deconstruct your mental reality and build it back up in a healthful way. And that takes time. It takes a lot of courage. It takes the depth and the gift of you being yourself for you, generator, for others, projector, to initiate your impact in the world, manifester, and to reflect the gorgeous light of awareness and judgment and observation and objectivity, reflector. It takes so much to be able to get to this place of honoring and respecting yourself unconditionally. And that's all awakening is, the unconditional love of self. And to be able to give our unique, differentiated perspective to an other without agendas, the not self agendas of manipulating and distorting and all of that stuff. It's a beautiful place to be able to do one's work in the world. It begins the moment that you're ready to sign up and join us on the student's journey. We will teach you how to do comprehensive analysis readings at many different levels, what you'll encounter on the journey, common roadblocks, common challenges, observing the personal transformation, not only of yourself, but your former fellow students who will become former colleagues, and then maybe someday partners or allies. Depends on what's in store for you. It's fun for me to see the people that have joined me on the journey collaborating and going off and creating, or being hired at different levels of the different institutions that I've also worked for. The deepening of the knowledge, your knowledge, is something that you will have to put the time in and the practice in order to analyze charts. Practice, 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 practice the way in which you communicate to others. So I find, if I remember what it was like describing something and then saying, and does that resonate with you? And checking in to see. And they might describe that thing that I was describing, or they might go, well, is it this? And they'll describe something else that my mind will go, oh, I'm linking it to this thing. So I'll say, well, it sounds like you're talking about this over here. And that's the dynamic dance of being an analyst who's learning in partnership with their client or students, if you start to teach at the level of whatever knowledge that you're learning. And I love that. I love taking both the technical language or knowledge and the art of synthesizing and bringing it together to perform and teach you how to do comprehensive analysis readings. Now, there are many, many, many different ways to read a chart. Many. And if you wanted to learn, about your chart with me, I could do 10 sessions of an hour each with you, and we could go through all different kinds of aspects of the knowledge. I am not kidding. There's so many different readings we could do. There's, besides all the life cycles and the relationship and your individual design, there's the incarnation cross. We could go into your dreams. We could look at your awakening. We could look at your money lines. We could look at your profit potentials. We could look at your design and business in a small group versus a large group versus as an entrepreneur being your own boss. I mean, there are so many different ways we can look at a person's chart. Ideally, you take it on, especially if you're a pure generator, one thing at a time. Okay. If you're a projector, do it one person at a time. I found that over the deconditioning that I was able to finally focus on one person and listen to what they were saying. Before I deconditioned, I could not even listen to my beautiful, precious baby daughter without tuning her out, or my now husband, tuning them out, because I'm thinking about all these other things. Whereas when I'm on with a client, I can focus. I can do the thing that I came here to do: focus, penetrate, absorb, advise, and guide. As a projector, I am the advisor who can guide. Now, to do this work, it is a practice, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You're already perfect. Your process is perfect as it is, and it's becoming more so wherever you're at in this level. of the knowledge and on the journey. It just takes time, and it takes, aligning with your design. So let's talk about seeking to trigger the inner connection of that person with the energy of their body, their vehicle. Our task as human design analysts is to help that person self realize or recognize or respond or whatever it is that their design is here for. So we speak to them and treat them the way that they were designed to be treated, not the way that we want to be treated, but the way that they were designed to be treated. And I find that that's half the battle. Okay. RAM stands for RAVE, the Human Design Body Graph. It's called a RAVE body graph, RAVE analysis method, where we are starting with an introduction, going through the definition, transition, openness, and then ending with profile. And that's your basic foundation analysis. Now, at different levels of the knowledge, some people will stay very much surface. I know people at the top of the hierarchy that don't go into reading lines, period, in a foundation analysis. For me, that would not be good enough because I personally like a lot of detail, and that's just me. I wouldn't be happy with that. So you meet the client where they're at. If they've already been studying for 2 years, you are obviously going to give them a different reading than if they just found human design. Because there's so much you can tell them. Personally, what I enjoy doing is sending people little pieces of like YouTube video, or maybe there's this private Vimeo video, because I keep my education videos on private under, behind a paywall. When it comes to, some things are not for public view. Other things are, this is for you if you really want to make the most of your time with me. So I prefer working with people who have at least some level of the knowledge to where they're not completely blanking, or, tech terminology is going right over their head when I'm talking to them. So I try to prepare them ahead of time. I will send them their chart. I will send them some videos, or my assistant will anyway. And that's the way that I like to work. Now, in the beginning, I would send them straight to my bodygraph.com, Jovian Archives layperson software, and say, hey, go listen to Type Strategy and Authority. It's all free. Let them be able to run thousands of charts. My assistants ran thousands of charts to be able to get them to that place where we could have a great conversation, because I'm conversational in my analysis work. You might not be. You might not want to have that question answer dance going on, because that's just not how you work. So maybe you prefer to get recorded readings out to people, custom recorded readings. We do both as far as what I offer, what we offer, what's going to work best for you. If English is not your first language, ideally, then you might like it all written out along with videos. And that's another way, presentations, that we can do this work and take them through all of the processes. Some people, they just write out, some notes, and then they'll speak to that person with their analysis. I have been starting to look at my AI generated notes afterwards and going, okay, this is really helpful. Let me send that to them as well, so that they have their, ideas or ticklers for maybe some experimental things that they can do. Or I might send them home with homework assignments, even if they're not a student yet. I have a homework assignment for you because they've been studying for quite a while. Go check into this gate. Do you have the line companion? Go read this. This is your blah, 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 whatever. Get back to me in a week and see how that landed for you. If they're emotional, they're going to need some time with us. So anyway, long story short, just spend a whole year, if it's right for you, or 3 semesters, however you want to take it, going through how to deliver the best RAVE analysis method, foundation analysis you can. And it's not to say that you're going to always do that as a product your way. I mean, not your way, that way, because this is just one way. It's one way. So don't get too caught up in, I have to do it only like this. And if I can't do this, I can't do this work. It's not true. Okay. It's not true. You can absolutely turn in an analysis where you're speaking to a client and you're, going off the cuff of your notes that you might have prepared. You don't have to write everything out. In fact, nowadays, because there's AI, I don't want you to. I don't want you to turn in something that could have been written by AI. Now, there is one caveat with that. I'll say that if English is not your first language and you need some help with grammar, and you want to run it through AI for that reason, fine by me, because you're getting it translated into English for me because I can't read other languages. Okay. So in the rave analysis method, I won't go through this right now because I feel like this is enough, but we take you through a journey into that person and their discovery. And again, this is how you're going to pass your analyst for level 4, is by delivering beautiful, very well organized. If you get something wrong, that's going to cost you. So you want to make sure that it's absolutely correct analytically through the keynoting mastery, moving from just data to the poetry that actually makes sense. Now, I'll tell you, some teachers will teach you in such a way that it's this huge, long run-on sentence. I tend to talk like that. So when you hear me keynoting, you'll see that I point and I pause. I'll point and I pause. And if anything starts to get too long, I'll hear that either I or the other, the connection will have been broken. And I'll go, how's that landing with you? And just stop where I'm at. Because if they're a left mind, they're going to get hooked on something and they're going to get stuck with that. And depending on their design, they're going to go looping thought, so that it's a different process to do a reading with someone live in aura in person versus a recording. And it takes some time to be able to get there, to get to the practice of where you're really self-aware as well as other-aware. And that's why oftentimes projectors or people with a lot of projected channels can be really good at this knowledge, at this work, doing the work of being an analyst. Okay, so basically you're going through 4 views when you're giving an analysis: type, strategy, authority, profile, definition. Most important stuff. Don't get lost in little tiny details. Yeah. I remember seeing somebody who was self-taught, who also started to create his own courses and teach others to be analysts. And when I saw an example of what he considered to be a career reading, he was basically telling the story isolated about the gate and not in context with the rest of the chart. I don't want that from you for your analysis because that does not hold true. Not for everybody, not all the time. An example, gate 49, one of the gates in my incarnation cross for this new explanation. Revolution also can be fear of nature and God and rejection of principles, lower principles. It can be about being fired. It can be the person who, off with their head as far as killing or slaughtering the animals. It can be about divorce. It can be, did I mention fired? I've been there. So anyway, if you start to go into a whole story about what this thing is, what the gate is, and you don't put it into context with their type, their authority, their profile definition, like, leading them down a path of too much detail, not enough context, you're going to lose that person because it's not relevant. And you want to be practical, especially if you've got a lot of 5s like Laveena does. You want to be practical with what you're giving that client. So you're going to learn how and why it's so important to get in with the basics and to give people, a comprehensive look at their design so that you have now a client. If you do them a service, a good service, you not only have a client who's going to come back to you for difficult times in their lives when they go through their 30s, Saturn, 40s, Uranus opposition, 50s, their Chiron return, 60s, their second Saturn. There's that. And then there's every year, there's also a life solar cycle. There's also relationship analyses. There's also, any kind of challenges they're having in their life, if they just need some coaching, that kind of thing. but also you have a person who will refer their friends and family because they know, like, and trust you. And they know that they can trust that you'll do a good job with their person, their people, because it's a referral. So that being said, right there is one of the whole reasons to nail this. And you can't nail it unless you practice. Now, let's talk about some common roadblocks for signing up for a course like this. Am I going to do this right? Can I do this? Is it going to reward me for my investment? Am I even going to follow through, or is it going to sit on a shelf like all those other courses sit on a shelf? I'm from those days when we used to buy tapes and mail, and then it became discs and CDs and DVDs and all that stuff. Okay, tapes and pamphlets. Is it going to sit on a shelf? That's why I said that. Anyway, when it comes to your mind, to disbelieve the ego eye that lies, I call it, the thought you think that makes you shrink inside. And when you hear me talk in a lot of my classes, you'll hear me say, my mind is saying. And that's because I'm either really entertained by my mind saying that, and I want to tell you, hey, I'm hearing this in my head. It's part of me sharing the experience of what it is to be me. But also, too, that it's not necessarily true for me, but it might be for you. Why? Because we can all be outer authorities. Okay, what is an outer authority? It's someone who has, let's say, um, decades of experience or mastery in some system or base of knowledge or whatever it happens to be, cake making. And you go to that person and, okay, I'm at this elevation and, I really don't want to have wheat, so I'm going to supplement. I'm going to supplement you know, I'm going to substitute. There's the word. I'm going to substitute with this other flour. So what do I have to do with my liquids and, all that stuff? How would you know if you weren't an expert? So there are fabulous, fabulous, fabulous people who have all different kinds of backgrounds and expertise. What's yours? No matter how old you are, you've had a lifetime, and many of you, hundreds of lifetimes. In fact, Ross said we had something, all of us had something in the line of 64,000 lifetimes. And sometimes we can pull upon those activations, those karmic connections, and we can pull into our genetic line and bring out some of the wisdom and knowledge for others. So if you have a lot of unconscious design activations, red channels, you have consistent strengths that come out of you unbidden, unprocessed, unaware, unthoughtful of what is there. It's just, hey, you get that from me. You get something that the mind, conscious thinking mind, has no way or idea of what's to come out or how to identify with what is there. So by trusting in the process, by letting go of comparison and perfectionism and the mind's resistance, by trusting in your body, by committing to the practice, Ra made a promise that you would get what you need and it would be all okay if you did it your own way. Follow your strategy, honor yourself as your own authority. You get what you need and it's all okay. Another thing that I remember being inspired by that he said was that if you decided like this is it, you're going to let go of everything else and you're going to make this work, that this work would support you, that it would take care of you. Now, I can't say that to you because it's not my promise to make. And I want you to trust you and you be your own authority too. I'm not going to tell you, listen to me, I'm the boss of you. Even though I have a lot of boss activations, it's not my place because what I want to do is empower you, to support you so that you can walk on your own 2 feet and do the work that you came here to do in such a way that it supports you. What most likely you will encounter as far as mental resistance is, can I do this? Mind wants consistencies. It wants proof. It wants, logic, and it wants, assurances and guarantees. Okay. So it can show up in many different ways, and it's perfect and absolutely normal to be processing past, past, past. I couldn't do it before. Future, future, future. I don't know if I can do it, And all we have is right here and now. Mind will always mess with us. So if your mind is driving you crazy, there are all kinds of tools we'll teach you to help you get you out of that funk. Most of us come to this level of work with huge conditioning about learning, about school, about being good enough, about measuring up, about comparing, about having what it takes, and all that stuff. It's just part of the nature of what it is to be human. So, what you can do is bring it to a group. If you're having difficulty, all we have to do is listen to you. Just say a few sentences, and we can hear where you're coming from and what's in the chart. And we can show you graphically on the map out the territory of where you're thinking from so that you can see that you don't have to worry or be so concerned, even though your mind is screaming, because it will do that, you know, jeopardizing one's level of ability to take care of oneself oftentimes is the mind. Because if you believe the mind story, it will hold you back when it's ready, your body, your authority is ready for you to move forward. It will say no when your authority said yes. It will say, but I need to study more. I need to prepare more. We're in a first line era. So, all the experts are having their day, all the first line people. But we're about to shift into the sixth line. And now it's about in the sixth line era, which will start on my birthday next year. It will be those of authenticity. Those can speak with integrity. Those who can walk their talk, who can shine a spotlight on hypocrisy. And gosh, the way that my mind works is a six line mind visually as far as view and also six colors. So seeing through the hypocrisy, not only of myself and others, sometimes it's not helpful to point at it and say, hey, here, look, that's so not self of you. Like that doesn't help anybody. In the beginning, it can be kind of unfortunate, sad but true. I did that. Like, no, that's you, like trying to help, but just coming from an inauthentic, like not helpful place. So learning a little bit more compassion, care, being more self-aware rather than blundering so much, being gentler, kinder, more indirect. That's the way for us right brain body systems to be more indirect about things. Mind judges self always. You can't get away from it unless you're one of the rare creatures that doesn't have a little, voice inside of the head about the self. I know there are a few of you, not very many, because I've only come across one in my whole line of work, one person that didn't have a little narrator story inside of her head. She had all centers defined. So anybody else out there who's studying, if you've come across that, please let me know if that's something that you've heard too, because I'd be really curious to learn. Mind, ma, maya, ma, to measure, from the Sanskrit root word, maya, ma, to measure. Mind measures and compares always. It'll compare you with you way back then, or compare you with what you think you should be. It'll compare you with somebody else. You think you should be like that person. Mind tries too hard to get it right. You have no comparison. And if any of you have an undefined G, please don't try to be me. Don't try to put yourself in a position where you think that, or anybody you think has it better than you. You wish you could be them or be like them or whatever the case may be. Everybody has their own trip this life, and you don't want to row down in anybody else's boat because you're not equipped for those cascading waterfalls, the rushes, of somebody else's river, not your trip. So no comparison. You have no comparison. You are utterly unique and maybe really freak, but that's okay because all are welcome here. When it comes to your mind, keep in mind everybody's going through their own trip. It's a sad but true, real thing to see someone trapped in their own cage of their own wounding, karma, drama, rejection, whatever it is that keeps them from seeing things as they are. because we all have our own filters. Think of like horses' blinders, when they're trying to keep the horse from seeing off the side and keeping them focused and not scared or anything like that. Everybody's got their own way of seeing. And the deconditioning that you're going to be making just by going through this class, by learning how to be your own authority, by being supported. We do our best at our institution of learning and opportunity. We do our best to treat someone with respect to the way that you are designed to be treated. So you can relax, take a load off. You're a quad right. Don't worry that you have to do all the homework. You're a quad left. You go for it. Do as much as you like, as far as the strategies, and all the details and maybe things that you love to do or not. Depends on your type, obviously. Depends on a lot of different factors. So that being said, my request to you in your practice and observation is to engage with other students accordingly with your type, strategy, and authority. So as an example, I'm a projector. The projector signature is success. Bitterness is the signpost of not being self-aware, not being correct. So what you can do is you follow your strategy, and that is wait for recognition. Recognition is a two-way street. It means you recognize something, the other person recognizes something. Okay, we have recognition. And when it comes to the big things in life, formal invitation. Now, obviously, when you engage with other students, you might find somebody. I remember seeing a pair of students go through, actually several pairs now, becoming partners after, meeting each other in these classes, becoming partners. So it can change your life waiting for the recognition and formal invitation. Ensuring that you are asking questions if you feel like you're not getting it, because there are no stupid questions. It's okay to ask questions. Now, easier said than done. If you're having a hard time, chat privately to whoever's holding the live, or behind the scenes. You don't have to make everything public. I do request respectfully that you don't message me privately with questions that should be in public so that everybody can learn, though. And we don't want you to take things too seriously. There is no one perfect way. Don't try too hard to hold on to the info. If you've got an open head ashna, it's say it ain't so. No, I'm just kidding. I love my open head ashna. Totally open ashna. Let go of trying to prove that you're certain, or trying to prove that you're right, or trying to prove that you're deconditioned, or trying to prove that you're yada, yada, yada. You know the drill. Take advantage of the people on your fractal, because if they're with me, then they're on your fractal too. And you might have more strong connections with certain people and not with others, and that's perfectly fine. Take full advantage of the partner practice, the buddy system, any penta practices where you're in a little group. Practicum, as in practice sessions, are when some of the most profound and deep and life-changing, life-altering work happens. And it's an incredible gift to be walking this path with others who are on the same similar journey. But it is not about the destination. The joy is in the process of individuation, and it's an ongoing, never-ending spiral. So don't worry about asking questions about foundational material. And even though you might hear me once in a while say, that question is best for next week, or that question is really dealt with better in another group, it's still okay to ask, because if you didn't ask, how would you know? There's no stupid questions. So if you're wondering, chances are somebody else is wondering too. And I love it when people bring in really intelligent questions. Some of them are so delightful and they make me think in ways I've never done before. So I just find it a beautiful thing to see. But yes, online discussion group rather than PMs to me. I do appreciate your appreciations of me. Thank you very much. Just don't expect me to write back really long-winded anythings unless I happen to have tons of energy that day. It just will usually be read and then I may or may not come back to it, and just know that I appreciate each of you. If you do send me nice comments, flowery, lovey messages are fun. Who doesn't like to be recognized? At the same time, there's also, you don't want to take that too seriously because people, I'm using this as a teaching moment, people will only get from you what they can get from you, no more, no less. And our learning together as a group definitely is enhanced and enriched by having multitudes of perspectives and experiences and views in the world. And I definitely don't think that no one should be heard. Everyone should be heard. But there are certain things that we just don't need to bring to group. Bitching, moaning, complaining, shaming, guilting, faulting, anything from the negativity, anger, resentment, bitterness, disappointment, that generally tends to propagate more of the same. So, like I tell my teachers when I teach them how to do this work, get right with you first, if you can. That's not to say that you can't come in and cry or blubber when you're in a deconditioning moment, but try not to make it a consistent habit because that's not what the group is about. The group is about learning. And who learns really when you're angry, bitter, depressed, disappointed? Try to manage those really strong emotions if you can on your own. If you need support, get help. Okay. This is, even though Ross said that this was like a therapy, it's not therapy group. It is about you learning and experiencing and discovering the magic of what it is to be you, as well as how to contribute this knowledge to others as part of your assignment, as part of your development. Even if the assignments are hard and time consuming, do your best to work with it, to practice it, because the more you practice, the more you play with it, the easier it becomes. I remember when I was doing analyst training, in order to have more practice, I would allow any of my Living Your Design Awakening Experience participants to come into a Friday group where I would just sit there and talk, let them have their questions about their chart, show the chart, and practice keynoting what I saw from what they were saying. And that's how I got a lot of my practice, besides doing donation work and all this kind of, writing for Jovian and all that fun stuff. Nowadays, there's podcasts, there's blogs, there's all kinds of ways that you can express your own perspective and your excitement about what you're learning and what you're discovering. And you don't have to if you don't want to, you know? Do what it takes to be you and only you. I can tell you, there's a lot in this design that thought I had to be different than what I was. When you can be gentle and kind and compassionate and self-loving and self-caring and not have the agenda of what you think you should show up like or be like or do like somebody else, modeling yourself after somebody else's business. Or, you know, if you're going after, let's say, the star pupil who is just nailing it because they are so articulate and so amazing, you think, if you're going after them and you self-deprecate right before, it's not helping anybody to express, the niggling doubts. Sometimes you'll hear Laveena say, my mind thinks, and that's how I'm attempting to, I can't stop it from coming out sometimes, to show the journey of self-discovery. My mind thinks, I'm making fun of it, basically. My mind thinks. When it's about me, it's not a great decider. It's not the decider. It is a bullshitter and a liar, oftentimes. So, because it's conditioned, and we cannot ever get away from conditioning. Conditioning it will never end. Your cycles of experience will always bring in new conditioning, new people, new lovers, new dramas and traumas, and whatever the case may be. So, You just do your best to find the compassion that is there for a being that is learning to be self-aware, and do your best to practice, okay? If you can, and you're in the mood, and if it's right for you to do. If anybody and everybody, if you have no one to practice on, what about famous people? Those are fun, I think, anyway. I think they're really fun to observe. When I find an actor or actress that I'm just like getting a kick out of what they're doing, I'm like, I wonder if they have an undefined throat, an undefined G. I wonder what their profile is. And you'll find that it's fun to see that they've been cast as something that's similar to their design. It's really fun to see. Okay. So practice, practice, practice. So much fun to practice. Share your difficulties in such a way that if you're really having a challenging day, that you're honest. So you might say, you want to be there in that group for whatever reason. Because what I'm attempting to do is set your expectations and give you some guidelines for going into a live group with other people. And what you might want to do, like what I do, if I'm having a really rough day with my students, I might say, I'm really having a rough day and I want to be here, but I might not be able to communicate or express as much as I want to. So I might have to cut class short today. Or if you're a student, you might say, I really want to be here, but I really don't, I just want to observe. I don't want to be called on today, if it's a smaller group particularly. But just being present and available to respond is enough. It's all you have to do. And projectors, please don't come in and tell everybody else what to do or what you see. Wait for the recognition, wait for the invitation. Chances are someone else will be helped by your comments because they might be having the same difficulty or similar issue, and they might have something supportive to share with you from experience. So you come in and you're having this difficulty explaining this particular, dynamic, and you go, well, I'm having trouble with this. And someone might say, oh, I have an idea for you. Would you like to hear it? It's so much fun to be able to commune and to share and learn and grow together with other people on the journey. And that's what those groups are for. Practice, all about practice, consistency, resource into each other, develop your own style, honor your type, honor your availability. Don't feel forced or pushed. And please, don't push someone else to participate if they don't want to. Okay. If they're not, this is, I tell you a lot of these things I've learned from experience. Had a wonderful projector come in who, this generator, open throat, totally open. And unfortunately, she felt threatened and pushed and bullied into participating. And so there had to be some communicating happening. And so I just want you to remember this is the best opportunity to experiment with your strategy and honor yourself as your own authority and be respectful to resource into and learn from each other in those practice pentas or with your study buddies. Okay. It is a path of profound transformation in level 1, 2, and 3. We are looking at so many different kinds of ways in which we can read a chart. In semesters 1, 2, and 3 of level 1, each is going to be at least 10 classes, and there's also practicums. We want you to participate in 6 at least where you are keynoting, okay? 6 keynoting practices. But there's a homework assignment, final assignment at the end of each level, okay? And participation in that to move on to the next level, if you want your certification, is required. If you don't want the certification, you can just move on to the next level and don't turn in your homework. That's fine by me. If you're just there for the experience, that's okay. Optional Q&A groups and rave chart practicing for keynoting, if you need more support, absolutely are welcome to stay as long as you like. Just remember that for every class, you have a year. So that means semester 1, you have a year. Semester 2, you have a year. Semester 3, you have a year, even though you could take semester 1, 2, and 3 in the same year. It's up to you. And depending on where you're at, let's say you're a BG5 certified consultant already, but you really want to go into the human design stuff because you feel like you want a more solid foundation, more esoteric, more whatever the case may be. You want to go into child development or dream rave or whatever primary health system. It's fine for you to jump right on in to whatever level you are at in your journey. Okay, so you just ask, just write us and tell us what's right for you to do in your practice readings. We offer wild mind writing as an option, class discussions, delivery of homework in group, or you can send it in from recordings. That's fine too. Okay, a final reading exercise again at the end of PTL1. And of course, I give you materials in each of the semesters that are bonuses, things like learning about the Plutonic generations, or I also have different ways of keynoting. The radical transformations is another bonus. The elemental I Ching is another bonus. So there's just a lot of fun stuff in store if you're a geek that you don't have to do, but it might be fun for you. Ross says, again, the goal is to create highly skilled professional analysts who can easily take their place in a global professional class using a standard training method that allows for uniqueness in both learning styles and analytic methods while simultaneously training all students to a uniform, quantifiable level of excellence. And that is all of the things that you're going to be learning that will help you get to the place where you feel confident and self-assured in your work. And it really is just the beginning. I remember going through this and feeling like, wow, there's so much I know. And yet the more that you know, the more you recognize there's a lot that I don't know yet. So your learning really never ends in this life. And you all are going to have your own unique style eventually. And you're probably going to develop it within the training levels. In the human design standards, there are going to be certain things that you have to go over so that you'll get that in your level 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And at 4, that's when you, if you want, submit your final exam to the licensing board. If you want to sign the contract and be featured on the website and everything. So skills to be able to show the detail and the big picture are one of the things that you're going to learn about with the Human Design System. Synthesizing information from any point in the chart, entering into that chart from anywhere. And then the capability and facility to keynote effectively, efficiently, clearly, articulately. The talent to deliver not only a quality recorded reading, but we want you to practice live too, if it's possible for you. Not a requirement, but we do really want you to practice and play. At the end of the day, the outcome is to become fluent in the visual language that is the Rave body graph. Is to develop the skill set of keynoting in the context and the language of human design and move from listing information to transferring an intelligent appraisal or composite of that person's specific activations, basically the poetry of you, whatever's true for you. That's the cool thing about doing this work is that you do it for you if you can. If you need a partner, projector, having a difficult time of doing yourself, well, yeah, you can practice with somebody else and, maybe trade. But ideally, you are studying yourself first for the vast majority of you because generators, you first, study yourself first. And so then we have all of these details, all of these different bonuses and materials, how you're going to learn in semesters 1, 2, and 3. When you begin, it's helpful if we learn a little bit more about you. So as I have semi-retired in the past few years where I haven't been working in the same full-time way of teaching classes every day, in addition to doing readings every day, I was doing a lot. It was too much, pulled back for a while. Rather than starting new classes every year of analysts like I used to be doing, now it's open enrollment. So there's no pressure. And there's definitely no consistency with cohorts that go through with me talking the whole time, because I can't do that anymore. It became disrespectful to my body to have it be demanding to teach live every day and all the different classes that I teach that people asked of me. So what I'll be doing this time around is re-recording certain classes in order that there is indeed new and improved. And you'll just get new versions of the class automatically if you're already in the course with us. And what will happen is that you'll come in, you'll listen to the recording, you'll write to me with any questions on the forum, either underneath the video or in the forum area where the live students are. Write questions to any of the mentors that we have. Some people really identify with certain teachers and not with others. So we have a variety of us that are facilitating the joy of the journey. So we'd like to get to know you. Since you're coming in at different times, it would be nice if you could post something so that other people can get to know you too, other students, not just your teachers. How did you meet human design? Why are you interested in analyst training? Maybe you want to tell us a bit about your chart. For example, maybe there's something really impactful that you discovered from your foundation analysis with me or with anybody else. You can tell us basic info if it's right for you to share where you live, what you do for work, or what you have done, where have you studied for the foundation courses, because people all over the world teach the foundation courses. And nowadays, since I don't teach them live anymore, not that often actually, it's been a couple of years since I've taught the foundation levels. So you'll probably have come in through other people if you're new to human design. Then who did you learn from? And tell us about you, if it's right for you. You don't have to. And those of you who are shy, you might take a while to get comfortable with doing that, but we would love to see you post it in our private network. And if you want to, share it on social, what you're doing, as far as, hey, you might want some practice people. And so your social network is generally, or your friends and family, which oftentimes people are connected through social. It's helpful to let people know what you're up to and that you might be looking for someone to practice with or on. And so this is from, the last time I did this was 2023. So it's definitely time for new development and a new journey as far as the materials. And the training schedule, we're going to be talking about your assignments, being able to read through the Rave I Ching, the line companion. You can get that at, if you go to Jovian Archive, you'll be able to see the international places where you can buy these books. So as an example, I live in America, humandesignamerica.com. You can get this book. And that is your manual for our entire year. That's right for you to join us in the new journey. And we want you to begin with the start codon in our genetics, gate 41, and read through all of the sensing circuitry in this order. So the Rave I Ching, the line companion, it's a very thick, dense book. It's like a school book, a textbook. It's our course manual for learning about the 64 hexagrams and all their lines. Ideally, you are connecting with the information through your design and also the design of others so that you can see the variety and how people show up. So for that reason, I also share my chart with anybody who is interested so that you can study and see, oh yeah, that's what's talking in Laveena or whatever the case may be. Okay, so if you don't have a lot of people to practice or learn about, your fellow students oftentimes will be okay with sharing their charts too, if it's right for you to investigate somebody in the group. There's going to be a lot of downloads, keynoting sheets, written example, recordings, or analyses, blank worksheets, blank body graphs, all kinds of goodies, audios for you to listen to, all kinds of goodies for you to play with. But you also maintain the ability to stay in the course. Unlike some other places where you only have 6 months to take a course. I hate that. I don't know about you, but I hate that. It puts a lot of time pressure on 50% of the population are emotional, and another 50%, maybe it's the same, maybe not, but are undefined roots. So you add that into the mix, and you've got people who are stressed out about learning, and nobody learns when they're stressed out. So that's not how we do it here. And we also ensure that you get the latest and greatest of updated material. So I'm not going to be doing live classes this time. I simply can't because of the way that my health and what's respectful to my energy is. I can do this. I can speak when I can and upload new recordings when I'm inspired, when the light of inspiration moves through me. And so that's what I'm going to be doing with this new courses. So it's not like you're going to have to keep up with it because the material's already there. And if it's a new version of the material, it will probably be better graphics or more thorough, or me wanting to redo something that I feel like I have more to offer now, more to contribute as far as an awareness of how this or that works. So it's up to you how you want to do this as study. But we do also have live study groups. We have currently with Naraya, she's doing study groups for us to commune and to practice both at the professional level as well as the foundational level. So the first hour is foundation, second hour is professional if you want to come and join. So that's for the PTL or the professional training levels that she is responsible for supporting me with in the transformation and the awakening of your way. So you pick a gate, my assignment for you. Just pick a gate from the month's gates. And what you want to do is prepare a rave analysis method, which you'll learn about how to do. Rave analysis method. Remember the 4 views? You're going to learn how to do this. It's going to be like second nature because by the time you get to PTL 4, level 4, it should be an afterthought you doing your final exam. No stress, no worries, and no hurry. Okay, take all the time that you need in order to make sure that this is right for you to do. Okay, so the next live training with Naraya is on the 27th. I believe those are Wednesdays. We have a recommended reading order. I didn't follow it. I'm a 3. I went through and read all my stuff first. Then I read my husband. Then I read my daughter. So whatever's right for you. But this is the recommended. If you like structure and you like order, this is the recommended reading order for the Rei Ching. You'll get this as a download handout. And then also the checklist. Maybe you just want to check them off 1, 2, 3. That's fine too. If you feel that that's right for you to do, totally cool. Whatever is right for you is what we want to support you in. Now, this is an option. I recently talked with one of my students that she said she told one of the other students, I am not doing that behind the, back chat in Zoom. But for some of you, this is something that I learned at Human Design America College, and that is wild mind writing to help you unleash your authentic voice. And the core idea is that raw, unedited writing practice can help you bypass the inner critic and just connect with your creative essence. So it's kind of like if you've ever done free associative writing or journaling where you're not self-censoring, this is where it's at. And you'll see some of my earliest videos are me speaking my wild mind writing on my own design way back in the day. It's a journey of self-exploration to discover your own unique authenticity and truth. It does not have to be something that you share publicly like Laveena does. Laveena has so many 5th lines. There's all this energy to attract attention, define throat and such. So don't compare yourself to me or anyone else. It's the way that's right for you that will be best for you to do. Now, your toolkit to get wild mind writing done. You can do this whether you're taking a class with me or not. This is a very helpful exercise. Okay. Get a cheap notebook, as in not those fancy dancy journals at $50 with the leather cover or whatever. You want a non-precious space that you're not afraid of writing in. You want the good, the bad, the ugly. You want everything in there. Okay. Just let it rip. You want a pen that glides. So the smoothest most quality pen that you can get. So cheap notebook, expensive pen. No resistance between your mind and the page in that there's not drag. So at least the page should be smooth. I should say with the notebook, it should be smooth paper, you know? Not that fancy, got lots of little flecks in it paper. I used to be a paper freak collector, so you know what I mean if you're like me. Now, the process for us to be able to do this work, besides the paper and the pen, you want to be able to have a timer, right? Timer could be one of those little, Pomodoro timers or desktop timer or phone, put it on airplane mode. You can do one of those egg timers, whatever the case may be. You want to have a starter phrase. And the starter phrase to ignite the process, ideally, I prefer that you use your design particulars. So if you went through rave cartography, you know what your throat center voices are, if you have any. So mine as an example, you may have heard me say it lots of times. I know. I remember. I know I can, certain I can contribute. That's an example of the voices that I have consistently within my throat. So I might start with something like that. If you're looking at me, looking around the screen, I'm looking for my mouse. There's 3 screens and I'm trying to find where the mouse is. Okay. So being able to type is not the same thing as write, but you can type, obviously. It's just that writing is more primal, especially if you're like me and you grew up with writing and not computers and not typewriters. Writing connects us up with the spirit, the soul, the consciousness, the unconscious, if you get into that state of awareness. So have a starter phrase. Select something that feels rich and deep for you. Maybe it's I believe. Maybe it's I have or we have. Maybe it's I am. It might be I think. It might be the I know or I can try. Or it might be I identify or I'm enthusiastic. My skills are whatever it is that you want to write about when it comes to that gate, especially at that line level. You can start at the gate, but the line level, if you take your information from when you were going through foundations and you learned about lines, you can take the line of the gate that you have a planetary activation in, or you can take the line that your personality sun earth is. So I would take a 3rd line, or your body, I would take a 5th line, and write about any of those gates, because everyone has everything in the human design body graph. It's just that when you're looking at planets, you're looking at specific preferences, predispositions, form differentiation, mind awareness. You're looking at specific things that you can absolutely also, too, of course, write. Whatever is true for you, honest, authentic, real, and in integrity for you. That's what I would like to encourage you to do. Okay? The method is you write. Don't stop. Just keep your hand moving. Don't take it off the page, even if you can't. Just write. No editing, no judging, no going back and crossing it off, no worrying about spelling. Don't even worry if it makes sense. Try to follow the energy. So if you're a hope motivated person, you might find it's hopeful for you to write in such a way that you're wondering or fantasizing about what may be. Well, yeah, maybe that's worth waiting for. If you're a desire motivated leader, and you're really focused on something that's very particular to survival, you might really desire more money or whatever it happens to be. Don't judge yourself, just write. And this is a precious practice for you to work with you in your process. And this is not something that you have to share with us. You're absolutely welcome to, but it's not for public consumption. That's why it's powerful and it's helpful. So if you go to Amazon, there should be all kinds of books on this kind of stuff if you need more direction, but I feel like that's enough for now. One of the things that we recommend that you practice with to explore the gates that we have in store. And then we also have the Rei Ching. Now, the Rei Ching has the gates, the lines, all the positions. So if you're an astrology person, you love the astrology stuff, you'll be able to find all your positional spaces, the themes of these gates, the incarnation crosses they create, and also Ra's commentary. This is the book. If you buy nothing else, you want to have this book. Now, I'll tell you, if I feel it's really even more helpful to have it text-wise, but if you want something online, you can get this add-on in my body graph that I find really helpful too, to be able to look things up on the fly. I use that in classes when I teach live. So this is the direction I will give you for reading the Wraith I Ching, which you can see is quite different. It's a little different than the Line Companion, but same thing, 64 gates. So there's a lot of reading, but you have a year or however long it takes you. Maybe you take it for 3 years, doesn't matter. It is your journey, and it's not about the destination. It is about the process of individuation, your discovery, your richness of your interior world, the imagination, the depth, the transformation that you will find when you find yourself and become aligned. And it's not like you'll be there all the time. We're in and out of it. You know, we all have frequencies. We all have up days and down days, especially us emotional people. You know, all have transits, that's for sure. Okay, so advanced levels. I'm just going to skip through this quickly because I can feel that my throat is about done here. Partnership and life cycles. They're all structured about the same classes. Minimum is 10. You'll see that Laveena has lots of extra bonus materials depending on what class you're in, because it was something that I felt was important for me to add that fit at different levels of the knowledge. So, but you do need to turn in a connection or a cycle reading or both if you want to move on, because that's the journey of discovery. How do I do this work? So oftentimes people find their romantic partner or their own or someone else's cycle to do. So I'm just going to skip through the rest of this. Okay, your assignments. Yeah, this stuff, you don't need to know it now. It's just there when you're ready for us to share. Okay, and doing the incarnation cross, telling the story of the quarter, profiles, importance of strategy and authority. So taking us through the 64 steps of transformation. And then we have level 4. Turning in your homework is not just to me at this stage. You're going to want to do your homework and read it again, read it out loud, tweak it, make it just the way you want it. Read it out loud, send it to me out loud so that I can hear while I'm reading what is there. And then I am not going to correct you. I'm going to give you pointers, as in questions, you know, if there's something that I feel could be massaged a bit, but this is more you, it's not me. Yeah, because you're the one that's turning in your exam. Now, obviously, why would they not pass you? You said projector and they're really a manifester. That's a glaringly obvious error, you know, and you would not make that mistake. Strongly individual design, all individual channels. You never once said melancholy. Or empowerment. That would really you will not make these mistakes. I know it. You'll do just fine. Okay. Synthesizing, demonstrating, discussing key components, great structure and organizing the 4 views and readings, and discovering your own fluid style, practicing, playing. You're going to do well with this if you make it to this point. Not everybody does. A lot of people just take first semester, maybe 2, sometimes 3, and 4 is where we really find the people who are ready to go out there and put their practice in, you know, hang out their shingle. That's right for you to do. Okay. So Ra says, we have never been given such an opportunity. And the way in which the formula has played out, this is it. You grab it while you can. This is an amazing opportunity and gift. The messenger's role is to deliver the knowledge without an agenda so that people can make decisions that they trust, not that we tell them what to do. We don't lord it over them. We don't play the knowledge as a power trip. I know better than you. It's not the way that it's done. If you do this work for the pleasure of advising, guiding, delivering the message, doing the work, initiating, impacting, reflecting with someone, holding space, delivering the message as the joy in the journey, you will get your rewards. Again, we don't do it as I know better than you. There's nothing more dangerous, Ross says, that has a dangerous arrogance than somebody who thinks they know something and is there to tell somebody who doesn't know something. So we're just messengers. That's the job. And again, the messenger doesn't carry an agenda. The nine-centered awakened human being to tell someone what they see without the agenda in their differentiated, unique perspective, delivered without the power trip. A messenger delivers information or knowledge. They carry the news, we fives, especially impact, fifth line. Yeah, message, fifth line. So you might have fives in your colors. You might have other fifth lines somewhere there, anywhere. Be practical with it if this is you. Okay, these are your two books that you want to go and get for sure for this level of the knowledge, because you want to hear Ra's words. You want to see the way that the energy moves through the body graph, through the I Ching. This is the most extensive work on the gates and lines available, that Rabi Ching. Now, there's two ways it's printed. You can either have the regular binding, perfect binding, I think they call it, and they also have spiral binding. Up to you, definitely. You can sometimes find it used on eBay or maybe in Facebook groups if you're on one of those places. You might find it in the courses if you're looking for textbooks and maybe somebody else is done with theirs. They're moving or whatever the case, you might be able to get it a little less expensive if you're looking for that. Okay. Now, the other thing that you're going to need to do is have software. So mybodygraph.com is the official layperson software. That's where I spent most of my time learning. Then we have the Maya Mechanics, mayamechanics.com, which is the professional software. That's where you'll see me always working in, because I don't prefer using my body graph, only because I learned how it was at the beginning, then they changed the formatting and structure. I prefer for people to use it for themselves. I use the Maya Mechanics just because it's easier to think in the visuals that I see there. Live your uniqueness and make your own decisions. And when you make a decision that's correct for you, the things that work out for you, they do. And the things that weren't designed to work out for you, they don't. You get, as a third line being, you enter into the right thing that goes horribly wrong, and you learn something so precious and valuable that you pass it on to another, and there's your karma, fate, destiny. Well, fixed fate is a 4-1 thing. But the others, we'll all who are threes, wherever we have three, we'll have our mistakes. And what's right for you will ultimately rewrite itself in your life. You'll have better relationships. You want to have better sex. You want to have better money. You want to have better this, that, the other thing. Generally speaking, if you are living in alignment, none of that stuff really matters. Not in the same way it did to the not self, but it all works itself out eventually. And you get the lesson that you needed for this lifetime. I can say that with clarity. So it may be that there are different human beings that'll come in and out of your life that are right for you or not. And it just might be that somebody comes into your life that was right for you to encounter for that moment. And they might walk right out of your life. And that was it. That was the end. You might start this journey with someone, maybe a relationship, partnership. You go through your deconditioning process. You come out the other side, a totally different person, and you do or you do not have that same person with you. It is not up to our minds to make that decision. It is up to the trajectory, our body. We're all hurtling through space and time. and everything comes to an end. You know, the transitoriness of power and influence is what I see, and everybody ends eventually as done. The body is done with this particular life experience, and at some juncture, your life, because it shifts so imperceptibly at times and it takes such a long time, at some juncture, you'll come to the realization and recognition of self-awareness that you are different. You'll feel it in your body. You'll speak differently. You may act differently. You may have totally different interests. And I'm not saying that this doesn't happen anyway with time and with age, but it happens radically when you get into an experience like this, because if you're entering into it professionally, it's not a hobby anymore. It is a dedication to something that is going to move and change you just as much as it moves and changes other people too. And this is the time of transformation that we are entering into. Incredible transformation. Such a gift to be alive at this time and to witness the self-empowerment of individuals. To thrive in health is wealth. And that's one of the next programs that I'm going to be putting on with Jovian, is to help you align truly to the health that is wealth within your design, so you can have the satisfaction, peace, success, and surprise that you so richly deserve. Spirit of abundance that arises from inside